Are you ready for this? Shortly after that came a dream. I remember the color of the blanket in the dream, and I was talking to him on the phone. So I did not plan to marry a man from the other side of the world. I didn't plan to be the other woman, and I certainly didn't plan to become a single mom at 26. This was not the life I had pictured for myself. Was it God's plan? Well, I'll tell you the story, and you can decide for yourself. So let's back up a minute and set the stage. Fair warning, this is where my story gets complicated and unforgettable. In part 2 of my story, I danced with danger and got away unscathed, but this time I would not be so lucky. Still, if I could go back, I wouldn't change anything. And by the end of this journey, you will understand why. So before I left home for my big adventure in the US, I had just discovered something brand new: online chat rooms. You could meet people from anywhere in the world and talk in real time. My platform of choice was MSN Messenger. So at one point in my discovery of the online world, I met a particular man. At first, it was innocent, friendly conversations, cultural curiosity. I was absolutely fascinated to ask him about his country, his life, his beliefs, and we had great conversation. But before long, he claimed he'd fallen in love with me. I wasn't interested in an online romance, especially not with someone on the other side of the world. Still, it was fascinating and flattering to talk to him. But with repeated attempts to tell me that he loved me, I quietly disappeared, stopped replying. So looking back now, I can see how small cracks of loneliness and curiosity, especially for a young person with a still very developing brain and sense of self, can open doors we never meant to walk through. And it doesn't happen because we're rebellious. It happens because we're human. But that's exactly where it's a huge blessing to have diligently praying parents or church family. So at this crossroad, there's the potential for the enemy to have his way with us, or for God to begin his most patient work in the quiet places where we feel unseen. So in my case, the difference was having imperfect but loving parents who let me grow, but also stayed close to my heart and prayed fervently for all the moments of my life, even the ones they might not see coming. So fast forward a few months, I was living in California with my host family, loving my new life, particularly the spiritual peace and awakening I was discovering. But at night, when everyone went to bed early, loneliness crept in. So one night, I decided to look up my online friend. I felt oddly guilty for ghosting him. Maybe it would be nice just to say hello again. So I opened MSN, searched his username, found a guy I thought was him. It was someone else entirely. Someone who, at first, seemed like a stranger from far away. Someone who would soon change the entire direction of my life. Let's call him Sam. So when we first started talking, I truly believed he was halfway around the world. That is what made me feel safe. The distance. The conversation flowed easily right away. He was articulate, funny, and very charismatic. He seemed really decent. That night was the first of many hours spent feverishly typing back and forth. Eventually, well, of course, we tired of texting, so we started talking by phone. And that is when the surprise came. I remember saying, "It must be around lunchtime for you, right?" He hesitated. "Actually, it's the middle of the night for me here." My stomach dropped. "Wait, where are you?" I asked. And when he told me, I realized he was only about 5 hours north of me. Suddenly, this wasn't some long distance chat. This was real, and he was close. I was nervous, and yet he made me feel strangely safe. This is how temptation can often begin. Not with obvious danger, but with a sort of false sense of safety. We think, especially when we're young and naive, "I've got this. I can handle this." But without realizing it, our hearts start leaning towards something we never really intended. In my case, in making myself as vulnerable and open as I did, I was certainly at the mercy of God's protection. So the weeks went by with us talking like this. We talked about everything: our childhood, our work, family, our faith. He actually told me he was a Hindu, but not entirely convinced that that was the right belief system for him. And at times he claimed to be jealous of my faith in God, which I took to be encouraging. As a Christian, I could certainly be an evangelist. I remember once warning him, half playfully, half seriously, not to lie to me because God told me things, particularly in dreams. Are you ready for this? Shortly after that came a dream. One night, I dreamed that I was back home in Canada, sitting in my bed, blanket across my lap. I remember the color of the blanket in the dream. And I was talking to him on the phone. His tone was really serious. "I have to tell you something," he said in the dream, "but I'm afraid that you'll never speak to me again." Still the dream, my heart started pounding. Somehow, I think I already knew what he was going to say. "Lori, I'm married." I woke up in a cold sweat, heart racing, literally, physically sick to my stomach. I actually sat bolt upright and said out loud, "No." So I grabbed my phone from my bedside table, called him. He answered after a couple of rings. He was surprised I was calling, of course. "I just had a dream," I said. "Sam, you have to tell me the truth. In my dream, you told me you were married." "Sam, are you married?" He laughed a little right away, which brought relief, of course. "Absolutely not," he said. "No, Lori, I'm not married." Then softer, "You don't need to worry." I exhaled, relieved, elated even, because the truth was, I obviously cared more than I wanted to admit. It's amazing how the heart clings to the words that it wants to hear, even when the Holy Spirit whispers caution. I think I knew that God was warning me of something that night, but my need to be wanted was louder. I think that phone call did a few things to him, but one of those things was to give him hope. And so the friendship deepened. The laughter, the teasing, constant communication, it all began to blur into something more. And one day he asked, "Would you ever consider meeting in person?" I said no at first, but as more weeks passed and we talked more, I was tempted. And we did end up scheduling a meeting. He planned to drive down the 5 hours, yet he told me I could change my mind if I wanted to back out at the last minute, and that he had a backup plan to meet up with family instead of meeting with me, if that's what I needed. So with that safety net in place, we went ahead with planning things, and I had a conversation with a friend of mine who I decided to open up to. She reacted strongly with fear about what I was contemplating, and it gave me significant pause. It actually made me shake my head at myself a little, and then I did cancel. But Sam was so understanding. He told me I owed him nothing. This made me trust him, but I still opted to stay cautious and keep our budding relationship squarely in the friend zone, using our physical distance as the boundary line. That was my line, or so I thought. So around that time I met Jay, and if you've watched part 2, you all know how that went. He's the guy from the ballroom dancing lessons. Anyway, when I met him, that night I told Sam about him, and Sam's response was to encourage me to give Jay a chance, telling me, half jokingly, that Jay was likely the safer option for me than him, which, when I looked back, was a clue I completely missed. So if you watched part 2, you know how the Jay story went. The point is, during the time that I was seeing Jay, Sam and I didn't really keep in touch. And after Jay, I was done with men that I could not trust. Really, I told myself that I was better off to stay single for a while. Free and single. But then Sam called. I hadn't heard from him in weeks. One afternoon, I was out with my mom and my sister for lunch at one of my favorite restaurants, Mimi's Cafe. If you're ever in town in Anaheim, you'll have to try it. In any case, Sam called. I didn't answer my phone. He left a voicemail. When I played it back, I could tell that he had been drinking. He said, "I love you, Lori. I'm sorry I broke my promise. I just need 5 seconds. Just 5 seconds to meet you." I rolled my eyes, deleted the message, and called him back to say, "Don't ever call me again." That was that. So I thought. So I'm not gonna lie, even when I thought I had drawn a boundary, a very definite boundary, my 19-year-old heart had not yet learned how to guard itself. I'm going to pause the story just for a moment because I want to share something important with you. Parents, this is what we need to understand about our youth and even about ourselves. When our sense of identity in Christ is still in the development phase, boundaries can exist in words but crumble under emotion. If your teen or early adult shares something with you, it's so crucial to walk with them through these times with listening ears and unconditional love, teaching them to quiet their own minds and hearts and ask the Lord before moving forward. So it's a week later after this phone call. My mom and my sister flew back to Canada. I was left alone, now in my own apartment, surrounded by really wonderful friends and church community. Life was really enjoyable. On the rare nights when I was alone, my mind drifted back to Sam. I missed him. His stories, his laughter, the way he made me feel. And one night, I gave in. I logged into MSN, and there he was, online. I hesitated for a moment, then typed, "Hey." He replied instantly. So just like that, we were back in touch, no questions asked. And when we did finally talk by phone, he apologized for that voicemail. "I'm so sorry," he said. "I was drunk." We fell right back into the comfortable rhythm. When God isn't the one soothing our loneliness, we tend to look back for comfort in risky places, even when we sense that perhaps that isn't wise. But here's the grace. God causes all things to work together for good to those who love him. So there were things going on in the background with my work papers, and one night I started venting to Sam about how frustrated I was, how torn I was. I was tired of waiting, and as much as I was loving this life that I had in California, I was starting to feel homesick, and another side of me wanted to stay. He listened to me very understandingly, as he always did, and then he says, "I wish I could just take you for coffee, distract you for a little while." I hesitated for a minute, thinking that it sounded so incredibly nice. He noticed my silence. "You there?" "Yeah," I said quietly. "That actually sounds really nice. Seriously? If I drove down there tonight, would you actually meet me?" My heart was pounding. "Yes." "Really?" "Yes, Sam, I mean it. I do want to meet you." He laughed. "Okay, I'm filling up with gas and I'm heading out." I promised him I wouldn't change my mind. And yet he said he would understand if I did. So it was Saturday afternoon when we were talking. It was going to take 5 hours to drive down, but he didn't care. It gave me some time to prepare myself, to get ready. A long sleeve top that made me feel pretty, but modest. I wanted to look put together, but protected. And I also had time to go to youth group, which was key because this time I didn't plan to tell anybody that could change my mind about what I was about to do. Instead, I prayed. "Lord, protect me, keep me safe. I don't know why I feel so drawn to this man, but I just have to meet him." And then I went. So let's pause for some reflection. I didn't know it then, but God would use that night, not to shame me, but to shape me, to teach me that His grace doesn't abandon us when we wander headstrong into our preference without stopping first to ask His will. It waits, it weaves, it redeems. So that night would change everything because of what happened next and because of what I learned. And in part 4, you will see exactly why I would never be the same again.